The hotel sector faces years of recovery. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. I'm still working through my morning coffee, and I thought we'd have a look at this series of articles from Hotels ANZ sent to me by a viewer. Because, well, the tourism industry has been hit very hard here in Australia. We already had issues with the big bushfires. Remember when that was the news, guys? Apparently people all over the world thought the entire nation was on fire, and that was going to cause damage to our brand on a global scale. It was going to hit tourism. It's going to hit tourism hard. And now we've got an economic lockdown. So people can't even go from one state to the next. Queensland's Premier seems to be very power mad and is insisting that the border opening between New South Wales and Queensland is the last thing that's going to happen. And I've heard stories where people are getting permits to cross the border just simply to go surfing. So let's see how effective it is. I mean, am I the only one surprised that a teacher that entered into politics is perhaps power mad? Let me know your thoughts on that one. But then we have international tourism, which has just been decimated, guys. Or even more, it hasn't been decimated. That's wrong. It's been completely destroyed. It's been obliterated. We've got international lockdowns. The cruise industry has taken reputation damage that you cannot imagine. And no tourists arriving. Now, tourism, someone said in the comments that it's a small part of our economy, which is just insane. It's a pretty decent part. It's $60 billion, guys. It employs 666,000 people, 3% of the workforce. 5.2% of Australia's workforce. So it's a big part of our GDP. It's a big part of our employment. It's bigger than other of our mining export industries. So the fact that this sector is taking a hit is something that we all need to be aware of. Now, here we have this article that potentially we've got revenue destruction for years to come. The hotel sector faces a slow and staggering recovery from the pandemic impact. The result will likely be declines of revenue of over 30% for the next 12 to 24 months. So 1 to 2 years, they're talking about a 30% reduction in revenue, guys. That's going to affect all of these businesses. That's going to affect all of these employees. That's going to affect some towns, some cities in Australia which are heavily dependent on tourism. How can people still argue for a huge V-shaped recovery, guys? So, Dransfield Hotels has revised their report on Sydney and Melbourne forecasts, indicating that they believe the hotel sector faces a slow and staggered recovery from the pandemic impact, and the result will likely be declines in revenue of 30% over the next 12 to 24 months. The report forecasts that after 4 months of extreme declines, demand for accommodation will pick up from September when the easing of domestic travel restrictions takes effect. However, a return to pre-pandemic levels of 78% occupancy and a $200 ADR will only be possible once international flights resume and all travel bans and social distancing measures are ended. Even then, it will take time for demand to match these levels, which they believe will be no earlier than mid-2021, everyone. So this isn't sounding like a fast V-shaped recovery to me. The pre-pandemic, Sydney maintained an average occupancy of 87%, while Melbourne was at 83%. According to STR, current occupancy rates sit at 20%, with more than 400 hotels temporarily closed. So you've got 400 hotels closed and occupancy rates are still only at 20%. Can you even cover your costs at 20%, everyone? There's the question. The Dransfield revision anticipates a 30 to 50% RevPAR reduction over the next 12 to 24 months in Sydney and 30 to 45% reduction in Melbourne. Sydney is positioned earlier in its supply development life cycle compared to Melbourne. It has a greater opportunity to recalibrate to the lower demand, delaying or cancelling proposals. As a result of falling revenues, hotel values are also expected to fall for at least another 2 years and only start to recover in 3 years' time. So we were looking earlier where people would, the spruikers, the Main Street media was telling you to get into the market to buy these opportunities. Do you think the market has priced in a 3-year reduction in the value of hotels in those companies? Do you think it's priced it in already? Or do you think the market still hasn't responded to that? Also affected will be hotel development, with 3,000 fewer rooms expected to be completed in Melbourne and 2,500 less in Sydney between now and 2028, as hotel development feasibility becomes more challenged. So you can see, guys, that's going to have an impact on the construction sector right there. That's definitely going to have an impact on the sector. Let's have a look here at another article, and this is the Melbourne preliminary April data. We can see here occupancy rates from 62.8% to 28.8%. ADR is down 32 to 115. The RevPAR is down 75 to 33. Reflecting the continued impact of the pandemic, April was Melbourne's worst hotel performance months on record, according to preliminary data from STR. And here's the comparison. The absolute levels across the three matrix are the lowest for any month in STR's Melbourne database. The occupancy level was down from 47.8% in March, showing how far levels have fallen across the country. Melbourne's occupancy was the second highest across Australia's states and territory capitals, just behind Perth, which was the only capital to record greater than 30% occupancy in April. And I imagine Perth is having that better result due to the fact that people can't go interstate when you've got the fly-in, fly-outs. And another example, and this is, Accor is cutting its rents. And this was what prompted the viewer to share this with me, because he has someone who has invested in Accor, and all of a sudden his guaranteed return has disappeared. Power and electricity is now no longer included in that guaranteed return. So there you go. These investments are probably going to take a hit. They're not going to look as appealing. How many people have put their super in these? How many people have negative geared 6 or 7 of these properties, as ABC seems to bring people out that they do? Accor has followed Quest in cutting rent payments as the hotel sector battles the devastating impact of the pandemic ban on travel. Accor has followed Quest in cutting rent payments as the hotel sector battles the devastating impact on travel. Accor wrote to landlords noting that starting from May, they will only be paying 20% of their rent. Okay? An instant 80% hit to your return on the revenue you get from this investment. Of the 80% not paid, 40% will be waived, and the remaining 40% will be deferred over the life of the lease. Simon McGrath, Accor's Chief Operating Officer for the Pacific, said that the group had reduced rent in line with the new Code of Conduct framework, and that of Accord's 400 Australian hotels, 60 had closed because of the pandemic. Accord, however, did pay its April rent in full, unlike many other groups. Accor also provided specific information about declines in revenues to support its reduced rent intentions, something other groups have refused to do. So they followed Quest in cutting their rents. They'll only be paying 20%, so at least they're paying something, guys. That's a difference that we're seeing. So they're going on rent strike, but they're paying something. And 60 of their hotels are closed. In Melbourne, lowest ever on record. And in the years of recovery, guys, we're seeing, 1 to 2 years in Sydney and Melbourne. We'll have to see how the rest of the country follows. So here we have it, guys. Just a look into the hotel sector and how it is affecting another part of the economy. It's going to flow through to construction. It's going to flow through to a lot of people that are employed, everyone. There's going to be some regional tourist spots that are going to cop it hard too. As always, please let me know your thoughts and opinions. Are you affected by this? Do you work in this industry? have you noticed a hit? Please, if you're a fan of the channel, like, share, and subscribe. And if you'd like to support us, there are a few ways you can. You can join the channel on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us via using our affiliate links at Amazon or eBay or Independent Reserve and Kucoin. You can use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, support us via buying our merch, or also PayPal. Take care, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.